I'm struggling with figuring out how to start this. So I guess I'll just start with context. Obligatory apology for mobile and long post. I'll try to keep it semi-brief. But there's a lot. I, a 28-year-old female, have been friends with Blake for about 10 years now. We met when I was traveling for a new job out of state, and I kid you not, immediately became best friends in the week that I was there. Same interests, great energy, and conversation. We just clicked. We were friends for nearly 2 years before trying the dating thing. It lasted 3 months important, during which Blake did not treat me well due to unresolved issues from prior relationships. Before I could end it, he decided to end it himself as he had feelings for someone else. Fine with me, we were clearly better as friends. I took some space because he hadn't been treating me well. He got into therapy and apologized for being crap, and was willing to put in the work to regain my trust for our friendship, which he did consistently over the 8 years since fast forward. To now, I'm now happily married to my wonderful husband, Peter. Together for 6 years. Married for 2 years. Blake and I are still best friends. He and his ex, after our brief dating stint, broke up, and he is now with a wonderful woman, Kaylee, for almost 2 years. Now started dating a few months before my wedding. This is important. Kaylee and I are also good friends. She's the sweetest person. Blake also lives in the same city as me now after his mother passed, having moved down here for a better support network. His girlfriend moved in about 9 months ago. In the past 6 months or so, things have been strained with Blake. My husband is very introverted, and Blake started voicing frustration about his inability to be closer friends with Peter, and feeling like he bothers Peter. He and I also started having weird tiffs, kind of subtle negatives, belittling comments, etc. Then my husband and I came over to a game night for Blake's birthday 3 months ago, during which Blake picked fights with me about very weird things. For example, my career path and how I'm going about it wrong, making comments like, "I guess if you want to stunt yourself in life, you can do it that way," etc. Both my Peter and I were caught very off guard, and after several attempts to shut it down, made excuses and headed home. Later, Blake proceeded to send me a text asking if I was okay, because the vibes felt off. To which I was like, no kidding, and explained my issue. He decided to reply with an email who uses email anymore. 8 long paragraphs about how he felt he and his experience, knowledge was dismissed in our discussion. How he felt ganged up on when Peter would defend my side, and how he felt like he can't be himself around me and Peter anymore. He also made comments voicing that he didn't feel like he could trust me, because I tell Peter everything not true. I always ask before sharing unless it's a danger or moral issue, and that he thinks I'm unhealthily codependent on Peter, because whenever Blake and I hang out 1-1-1, I'm always calling to let Peter know how late I'll be out, or check if I'm cool to pick up takeout. We're married with joint finances. Sue me, I replied, trying to clarify my end as well as understand where the ever-loving hell this all was coming from. But no matter how many times I tried, we kept going in circles. The emailing back and forth, during which he demanded we not meet up till this was resolved, lasted till about 2 weeks ago, when I said I needed time to think about how to reply next. About a month ago, I got into therapy because it was seriously messing with my head and making me feel like I was a problem, and like I couldn't talk to anyone about this. Because we share much of our support system, I finally broke down with my sister when she came over to see why I hadn't been answering her. Or really anyone, yay. Anxiety lately. She is also friends with Blake through me. I let her read the emails, and she got pretty ticked on my behalf and then proceeded to drop a hell of a bombshell on me, and Peter Blake is apparently still in love with me and hates Peter's guts. Apparently, when she drove to pick up Blake out of state for our wedding, he was a groomsman. He confided in her and her husband that he didn't agree with the wedding and wished I would break up with Peter and give him another chance. That we're soulmates and Peter isn't the one for me. Blake has heard me talk since day one about how happy Peter makes me and how safe and loved I feel with him. My sister shut it down, but even better. Blake proceeded to do the same thing when she drove him back home after our wedding. He ended off saying he just needed some time, so my sister kept her mouth shut because she knew that he's my best friend, and hoped she could trust him to resolve it over time since he lived far away. Blake then moved near me about a year ago, and Kaylee moved in the August after my husband's, and my wedding anniversary is in October. And apparently Blake called my sister's husband to again confide that he's still in love with me, and wishes I would divorce Peter because he would be a better husband to me, while living with Kaylee, who he's told me is his soulmate. This was about when all the stress started, so she never found a good moment to bring it up. As if to ice the cake, Kaylee and I have been keeping up via text through all this. Again, we're friends. During the past few weeks, I learned some odd things. Kaylee got new piercings, reportedly encouraged by Blake to do so because she'd look so cute. A double nose piercing and septum, which possibly coincidentally, Blake took me to get as a post-wedding gift. 2 years ago, Blake apparently has beef with the month of August, and so has decided their anniversary will be in October. The reason he gave was because it's a spooky month. But Peter and I started dating and got married that month. I also, at my sister's prompt, went back and checked when Blake and I broke up. August 2017. Again, possibly coincidental, but feels very odd as I don't know why else he would have an issue with that month. It's also worth noting Blake had another relationship fall apart because the girl was outright convinced Blake was cheating on her with me, to the point of blasting me for weeks as some homewrecker Peter and I always chalked it up to her insecurity. But now I'm wondering if she was just watching Blake carry on some weird one-sided emotional affair. I love my husband more than words can say, and he makes me happier than anyone I've ever met. He's my ultimate best friend. Learning all this has made me feel so gross and like a horrible wife. Though Peter has been wonderfully supportive and doesn't blame me at all. All this to say I'm ending our friendship, but have no clue how I feel like I have to tell Kaylee, as this has all happened during their relationship and living together, and the woman deserves the world. But also recognize I have no real proof beyond spoken accounts. Besides the weird emails. It sounds like some wild conspiracy theory or soap opera. My therapist is on vacation, so I'm on my own after learning all this. I'm also realizing just how manipulative Blake has been for years. Given this context, and already feel shaky about confronting him. Given my serious confrontation anxiety, which he knows about and could easily try to exploit. I'm realizing more and more that he has massive control issues that I dismissed as anxiety for years. The fact that he lives so close now fills me with dread rather than joy. I want to come out of this with no regrets, knowing I stood up for myself and that I put a decisive end to this. I want Blake to know his actions. And creepy ulterior motives are the reason our decade-long friendship is dead. I've never ended a friendship myself. Also, a bit of an introvert. And this is basically friend breakup on steroids. How do I break this lunacy to Kaylee in a way that sounds remotely believable given the front Blake has built? I also would love some advice on how to go about telling Blake. I know everything, and we're absolutely done. Additional info 1. So I'm working right now and not replying to other comments till later, due to time constraints, but thought some clarifications could do well given this comment. There is no sensual past. Blake and I did not sleep together again. This was only a 3-month relationship. Not everyone hooks up. The most we ever did was kiss a few times upon visiting due to long distance. And again, this was 8 years ago, too. This isn't the only friend I've briefly dated that I'm still in touch with. Hell, Peter actually does have a close friend that he also dated back when he was in college for about 6 months as well. She and I are really close as well, and Peter and I are godparents to her child. Genuinely, both of us are very secure in our relationship and don't take issue with it. We're also both into all genders, so opposite sex doesn't really mean much to us for friendships. It's all just people 3. My sister and I are in talks over this. I didn't feel it relevant to include in this post, but will here. I let her know how upset I was over her keeping this from me, and she broke down apologizing for it and recognizes she messed up. She also has severe anxiety, and thought it had resolved until the second time Blake reached out to her husband, during which time she was going through a lot herself personally. She was intending to tell me next. We spoke around the time I fell off, communicating from the stress of it all. We're working through this separately. As for your summary, having gotten a restraining order on a different ex, it's not very easy to get one. I will, definitely, if I have to. But jumping straight to that doesn't seem feasible. The cop scare tactic is definitely not a bad idea to keep in my pocket, though. Thank you. As for your frankly polarizing view on myself and my marriage, I didn't come here to ask for advice or opinions on my marriage. My husband has been amazing and very adamant that I know he is mad at Blake for being a creepy lying jerk and not me. He knows full well that I have eyes only for him and never once doubted that before nor after all this. You can think whatever you want of me or my marriage, but I did want to throw that out there. The feeling like a terrible wife I mentioned is because I feel like I've been blind this whole time, especially as I fully acknowledge how cliché this all sounds. Whether that's true or not, I know my marriage is solid and secure, and I in no way spat in anyone's face. Update next day. Well, I was definitely not expecting to be making an update follow-up post when I made my original post. Admittedly, my original post blew up far more than I ever anticipated. I've made many posts on various accounts and subreddits over the years, including this one, and typically I get a handful of kind-hearted Redditors' input before it dies into obscurity. LOL. So this was definitely new to me. I'm endlessly thankful for all the wonderful people who offered comments of care, support, and advice. Some of the comments were so invaluable, and I can't thank you all enough. I did decide to delete the original post largely to protect my peace, as it was surprisingly anxiety-inducing to have 500,000 views on one of the most surreal moments of my life, and partially as protection as there were many specific details that could easily be identified. Recently, Blake and I started having weird little tiffs, and when Peter and I went to Blake's birthday game night, Blake started criticizing me during our conversations over very weird things, such as my career and how I'm going about it, etc. After Peter and I left, I got a text from Blake asking why the vibes were off, and I voiced the issue. Blake responded with a long email about how he felt. Dismissed, tread on, disrespected, etc. This turns into nearly 4 months of emailing back and forth in self-isolation from the anxiety of it all, during which I started therapy. I finally talked to my sister about it, who revealed that on the way to and from my wedding, Blake had told her that he was still in love with me, disagreed with the marriage and wished I'd give him another chance, etc. He then said he just needed time to process, so my sister didn't disclose this to me when it happened, thinking he'd move on. She agrees this was not the best move, but we're okay. She then discloses that Blake did the same thing on my wedding anniversary in October, reaching out to her husband with the same concerns she was going to tell me at the time, but life blew up as life does. By the time she was able to do so, I wasn't talking to much of anyone. When she told me and Peter this, in addition to other sketchy details I recently learned from Kaylee, I immediately knew I was ending the friendship because he clearly saw us as or wanted something more. For those concerned about my husband and all this, Peter knew about my and Blake's dating stint from the start. Peter also has friends who he has similarly dated. This is not an issue for us despite Reddit's objections, and he has been aware and involved in everything that's happened both in my original post and this update and beyond. My husband found y'all's negative comments absolutely hilarious and told me to tell any who are concerned. I love and trust my wife, and if someone has an issue with it, that's a you problem, bucko. Now that that's aside the update, I decided to talk to Kaylee after all I asked to meet up and treated her to coffee and pastries, and then disclosed everything I knew. She listened, even reaching over to hold my hand when she saw me shaking, and thanked me for telling her. In short, she has decided to stay with Blake for now, but is moving forward with this in mind, as is her right to decide. She wants to stay friends with me and fully understands that I want nothing to do with Blake and why, as well as to not share any info about me with him and that there'll be some distance for a bit. This is where y'all might yell at me, but I did confront Blake in person. This was mostly due to the fact that I wanted to get it out of the way right after talking to Kaylee without raising alarm bells, and meeting up under the guise of talking it out in person was the easiest way to do that. My husband went with me. Though the conversation was just between Blake and myself, I took several safety precautions as well, such as secretly recording the interaction. Initially, Blake started in on classic Darvo, saying he didn't remember saying those things to my sister, etc., and then remembered certain things. But in different contexts, he even tried spinning it back on me several times. I shut all that down, as well as any excuses or justifications given, and firmly landed my point that regardless of intent or reasoning, his actions are wildly inappropriate and inexcusable. After dismantling enough of the excuses, he actually offered several apologies owing to his actions. Whether he meant them or not, I don't know, nor care, but it was semi-cathartic for sure. He insists everything with Kaylee is coincidental. But either way, that is between them at this point. The conversation ended with him saying he didn't want to lose our friendship, that he was willing to take a friendship break for a bit, establish better, firmer boundaries. That he feels he's in a better place to be more honest. That now he was aware of the issue and would pay more care in not breaking my boundaries. I shut him down, saying that ship sailed long ago, and it shouldn't take me saying, "I'm done," for him to put effort into respecting me. He then said he'd respect my decision to end our friendship, but begged me to at least keep an open mind at possible future reconciliation. I was pretty much done at this point and told him flat out that these are the consequences of his own actions, that I can never trust anything he says or does ever again, and that even IF in some alternate universe I was open to that. He would be an acquaintance and certainly would never ever be my best or even close friend again. He went quiet and teary-eyed after this, I assume because he knew things were coming to a close. I stood up, he asked me for one last hug. I said no, reached out to shake his hand and left without looking back. Which felt kind of badass until I got down the block and round the corner and had the panic attack that had been looming all day. LOL win, some lose some overall. Though I think this went as well as it could have. I'm not letting my guard down yet just in case, but it's a relief that it's finally seemingly resolved. Admittedly, I'm not doing great, but I know I will be okay. Peter helped me realize I'm basically mourning the death of a decade-long friend. While Blake himself may not be dead, the Blake I knew is. So I'm trying to give myself some grace in processing through this. Peter has decided tonight is reserved for tacos, cake, and video games together for some dopamine, and we're both calling into work tomorrow after this chaos. Thank you again to all those who offered kindness and support on my last post. I don't think I would have had nearly the confidence and composure I had today if not for you all. May your pillow always be nice and cold, your food the perfect temperature, and your life full of joy and peace. Relevant comments. Somebody said block him and don't look back. Original poster replied, I very much did. The funniest thing is I was almost starting to feel a little bad afterwards. He verbally acknowledged and took accountability for much of what happened by the end of the conversation, and while I wasn't regretting my decision, I was feeling a bit guilty for going scorched earth that fast and wondered if things could have improved had I not. Until I got an email this morning because the jerk made a whole new email account to reach out to me from. Because he figured I blocked him, but he had some things to say. I opened it out of curiosity, and it's, I crap you not, 12 paragraphs about his side of the story. During which he tried to explain, Darvo, Gira gaslighted all away, said things he already admitted to and apologized for. Never happened that he was never in love with me in the first place, so he wouldn't say that, etc. Everything directly counteracts every apology or admission of guilt during our recorded LOL conversation, so I know damn well he's not actually sorry or remotely grown from that confrontation. Really reinforced my decision for me. LMFAO. Another commenter. Do not be surprised if he starts to stalk you and or reaches out to friends about how worried he is about your 1 mental health or 2. Peter's treatment of you. Original poster replied, I'm not as worried about these, at least the latter, with reaching out to my friends. My friends know full well that our relationship is healthy as hell. Even my therapist has commented that it's one of the healthiest relationships she's ever seen, which is a nice lil brag NGL, considering the crap I've been through in life, lol. And I genuinely think they'd reach out to me before putting any stock in anything he could think of. We're kinda the parent friends of our social circle, LOL, no kids. We just tend to love and care for our people, especially when in need. But regardless, I'm prepared if it does come to that. Especially after that email commenter, you are a badass. As someone who has panic attacks, don't be ashamed of yourself. I'm so glad you updated because I really wanted to know that you and Kaylee were going to be okay. You handled this in the way that was best for you and your life, and that's all that matters. Wishing you the best, and I really hope you and Peter have a beautiful future together. Tell him that at least this Redditor thinks he's a really good partner. Another commenter. What she did is so awesome. I am very, very awful at enforcing boundaries and can never bring myself to cut people off. I need to take a lesson from this. Also, I have totally platonic friendships with exes. It really is possible. We look at each other like siblings. Your husband is right. It's a them problem if they don't understand. Original poster replied, this was definitely some new territory for me. LOL, I've never ended a friendship before, or cut someone off like that. let alone in a situation this utterly insane. Thank you so much.